All right, you're live. All right, so welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Justin. This is Pansy, the Friends with Benefits podcast. Welcome back again. We're on episode 25 now, which is kind of a
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
That went quick.
It did go quick. But I'm glad to be here. I'm super excited for our guests today. Actually, I'm really interested to find out more about what they're doing. So we'll bring them up here in just a minute. But how are you
Absolutely.
doing, Pansy? How's it going with
I'm
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So Pansy's going to be doing some dispo, right? Potentially. Some
Yeah,
dispo.
yeah. I'm learning some dispo with
Nice.
another team.
Nice. And we can get into the argument of what's more important, acquisitions or disposition. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, acquisition is the process of finding deals. Disposition is the process of selling the deals and or buying the deals. So, but yeah, that should be interesting. So we'll see where that goes. Um, we've just been, Pansy and I have just been moving. We've just been, building up our business, building up our processes, and we've just been super busy
Building our network.
building our network, doing the
Yep.
show.
Learning a lot of things. That's why we brought these people here back so that we can hear about their capital raising. That's
Yeah,
an important part of all of it.
yeah, it is, and in fact, uh, it's one of those skills that, when done right, can change the whole game for you. And also, I mean, I've heard Pace and others talk about this, and they've been asked the question before, if you could go back and start over, what would be the one thing you would want to know or tell your, you know, past self? And their answer is always the same. It's learn how to raise funds, right? Learn how to raise funds. Learn the funding side of it first, right? That's what Pace talks about a lot. So anyway, I wanted to bring this up too, since this is episode 25, kind of like a 25 anniversary.
A
um,
quarter
yeah,
anniversary.
a quarter 25 episodes, kind of a milestone. But I wanted
Yeah.
to remind people who do watch us, we're here not just to divulge information. Like if you're getting on and you're watching the show and you're just consuming, that's great. But if you're not actually networking and meeting people, um, then you're not doing your job, you know?
Right.
And that's part of what we're here for. And for the
Utilize the information.
yeah, utilize the information, and we're going to be getting more active too. I've got some plans for the community and being more interactive with the community as well. But jump in here. We do this every Friday. I know it's not always the most convenient time for everybody on a Friday evening, and but that should change too. We're going to be trying to do more episodes at different times. I know that's also kind of a thing where different time schedules, or we have the show at different times, so it can make it a little bit challenging. So we're going to try and do what we can for that to accommodate people. But jump in here because it's about meeting each other. It's about coming in here, interacting with our guests, asking questions, and getting to know us, getting to know and us getting to know you, and you getting to meet everybody. So just
Yeah,
a
building relationships that you can utilize in your business.
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm excited to bring these folks up. We're bringing them back for a round two, and this time it's very specific. We're going to be talking about capital raising, but these gentlemen, you've met them before. They have built themselves a co-living co-living empire. They've started a mentorship around capital raising. Just a couple of great guys and experienced real estate investors. So let's bring them back up. We got Carlos Villanueva and Chad Yesilova.
Great
How's
to
it
be here,
going?
guys. Thank you so much for having us.
Hey, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Awesome. Very excited to be back. It's an
Uh,
exciting topic too, and to discuss such an exciting topic with obviously anyone that's attending is obviously very interested, right?
Yeah.
They want to take their life to the next level, and I think that we're at an interesting point in the world with the advent of AI as well, where, raising capital can really take you to new heights. It just gives you that rocket fuel that you need,
Yeah,
especially now, you know, um,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
to scale your
Absolutely.
portfolio.
Well, and I'll add something else. Right now, as you said, it's an interesting time. A lot of the banks, a lot of the, banks and funding, traditional funding sources are tightening up in a lot of ways, and it's getting more difficult. Obviously depending on the deal, but it's just in general getting more difficult to get traditional funding. So learning about raising capital again is just, I mean, it's key. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that with lenders, I mean, they go through these cycles where, they do tighten their laws, but then they relax their laws as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
or lending guidelines, I should say. And, obviously with interest rates being so high, there was a free, like, well, basically, it was just a lot harder to get capital from
Mhm.
these lenders. But with the announcement today, and what Jerome Powell said, it looks like that the interest rates could be going down. I think that that's going to spur the economy,
Yeah.
so that's good.
Big time, big time.
Yeah,
And I know we know, and if we typically don't talk a lot about politics, but this has to do with the economy and the economy as a whole. And we know that our president has been pushing really hard to get those interest rates lowered. And, there's arguments on both sides of whether that's good or bad. But we know for a fact as real estate investors, we're going to see potentially another boom depending on where they go, right? I mean, you could see another massive boom in a lot of sectors. So, uh, excited to see I mean. Again, interesting times. So super
yeah,
interesting.
absolutely. I think cost of capital it will go down, and as a result, we will see an increase in demand.
Yeah, yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, I mean, right? So, I do have some questions for you guys, and I'm really curious. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more about what got you guys started on the mentorship for capital raising. Like, what spurred that?
Um, I mean, so as far as capital raising goes, I'm a former stockbroker. I did that for 6 years straight out of university.
Yeah.
And so I always had an entrepreneurial background. I was always selling. I was always extroverted, talking to people as well. And so, I mean, by a strange turn of events, I ended up meeting a senior advisor who was a stockbroker, and I offered my services for free. Now, initially he declined, but as a natural salesperson, I persisted, and so he finally offered me a position, but it was an unpaid position.
Right.
And so, as part of that position, he basically, and this was like, this is going to age me, but, they put the yellow pages in front of me and said, start dialing and let's get some people to call. Sorry, let's get some people to invest in our deals. So, I was basically, I blindly trusted and followed the process because around me I saw a lot of people making a lot of money as well. So I decided to just follow. And in the beginning, just like getting the freight train moving any time, it's going to be a long and arduous process. But the goal was to make 1 million within 3 years, which I did in four. But the time that it took to raise $1 million as well as the time that basically I'd write down names, right? Justin 50 grand, Pansy 50 grand, Carlos 50 grand. The time that it took to write down people's names and a number next to their name is the time it took to raise $1 million. So I mean that was really exciting,
Yeah.
and because it was the only task that I had to focus on in order to be successful in that role, I made success from it.
And so, what are some of the key components of that process that you're starting to teach people? I mean, obviously, you're going to be teaching people all of it, but what are some, like, if I'm brand new and I'm coming into the mentorship, where would you start with me?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I guess if what I find for a lot of people that are actually starting out, they're winging the process, right? So for every single person that they sit across from, they're changing, or they don't have a set structure that they're following. They don't have a pitch deck to guide them in the process.
Right.
And if they do have a pitch deck, it may have a lot of missing pieces. It's not appealing to the right target market. And
Mhm.
therefore, as a result, they're not going to get the funds. There are certain milestones that you need to be able to tick off if you want to raise capital.
Right. Right.
And you know, just by having structure alone and speaking to enough people, by virtue of numbers, you're going to have at least one person say yes, right?
Right.
So if you're consistent and you show people, then at least one person should say yes. But if you couple that with a couple of other elements as well, you're increasing that likelihood.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
would you say that it's important, in order for me to go capital raise, do I need to have the deal on the table first before I go?
No,
Yeah.
no. If anything, I think that it pretty much works against you. You know?
Interesting. Why do you
Yeah.
say
Well, because you're desperate, right?
that?
And so people can smell that in your breath, right? So when you're desperate and there is urgency, then people are going to, it's going to raise alarm bells, red flags. People are going to say, wait a minute, this person needs the money within 2 weeks.
Right.
If I'm
Right.
feeling rushed, I'm going to pull back.
Yeah, for sure. Big red flag.
It-
Um, so guys, a really important point there. You don't go meet the people when you need it, right? When you need the money or you need the help, you don't meet the people when you need the help. You meet them before you need the help. You build those relationships before you need the money. And that's the trick. So what are you seeing now? I'm not sure. We don't need to necessarily get into this too much, but with the adoption of the mentorship or the people coming into the mentorship, what are you seeing as far as like some successes that people are having with the mentorship?
Well, I guess, because I mean, we've worked with some co-living buyers, and there have been many situations where people have said, hey, I have the money. I need to speak to some people, but I have, the money ready. We should be able to get the funds locked up within about 10 days. And so once they commit, what I find is that they'll go out there, with desperation in their breath and go out there and say, hey, I've got the deal. Can you put the money within the next 10 days? And for all I know, I mean, they could actually be speaking to a cold audience, or maybe it was just one or two conversations beforehand. And so these people are not really sold on the individual. They're not sold
Got it.
necessarily sold on the product
Mhm.
either.
Right.
And so as a result, they're not going to make that investment because they don't see it as being worthwhile. So where we actually stepped in was because we didn't know that these things were actually happening. We started to get a bit more involved, ask people deeper questions like, who are the people that you're going to be speaking to? Do you have prior relationships with them? And if you do have some sort of relationship, I want to know a backstory because I want to know if certain topics have actually been covered. Like, do they know you? You know, do they trust you? Have they asked buying questions about this particular investment class? Right? Are they intrigued by it? Do they see you as the expert? And so, they'll, uh, I mean, they will most likely say yes. But then what I did was, start to ask if I could meet their lenders and their private money partners.
Interesting.
And so when I did meet, and we basically discussed, and I mean, together as a team, we basically ticked some boxes. Then we were able to get those investments over the line.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about your team. Maybe you can describe a little bit about your team and who are some of the folks that are involved with you guys.
Yeah, so I mean, Carlos, do you want to run through the sales team, and
Yeah,
then I'm
yeah,
I'm running more like the operations and capital raising side.
Sure, sure. Well, you'd mentioned some very key players that kind of help you guys stand out, right? When if somebody comes into the mentorship and have that backing with you guys, there's some very key experience that you not I mean not to single you guys out or not to take you guys out of the equation necessarily, but there's some other folks on the team that have some really high level experience that you can bring to bear to help people learn this process or help people be successful in this process, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So aside from the acquisition side, we've got virtual assistants that are constantly looking for deals. We've got salespeople that are constantly negotiating for deals.
Mhm.
But I believe, Chad, you've got some higher level people that are also assisting you on the multifamily side that are like a value add that are being brought towards the program that we're offering people.
yeah. So how that all ties in, I mean, just to give people a backstory, we are on, property number 18 right now. And we're building the infrastructure, the operations right now to be able to add, 1 to 2 properties every single month. But we see the co-living properties as a really nice stepping stone to get into bigger projects like multifamily. And by multifamily, I'm not talking, 2 to 4 doors, with the partners that we've got on board. They're basically seasoned investors. They're buying properties that are 70, 80 doors plus,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so right now we're looking at a 150 unit in Little Rock, Arkansas. So to go into detail about who these team members are, there's Nissan Mosery, okay, and he's been in the game for about 15 years, and he's got about 9 figures under management, and he's constantly on the lookout as well for new opportunities, and we're chatting regularly, where just like I mentioned about the Little Rock, Arkansas, there's another team member, Doug, former CFO of Fortune 500 companies in the petroleum and auto space as
Yeah,
well.
amazing. Amazing.
Yeah,
So
and his wife, who is former SEC as well. So everything is really compliant.
wow, so that's huge, right? As far as
Exactly.
compliance, man, that's huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, think about that, guys. You got a team behind you with, some really, really high level experience that can help guide you through. And we'll get to maybe more specifics about the mentorship here in just a little bit. I'm sure some people like I did, what's the price? How much does it cost? But we'll
Yeah.
get to that. We'll get to that. So what I want to hear, or what I like asking people about, like early days. Those are kind of my favorite types of questions. What was your guys' first experience raising capital like? And what were some of the big lessons that you learned? If you've already kind of mentioned some of that's fine, but I'm kind of curious what that first experience was like for you guys.
Yeah. So I think, with the very first deal, uh, what you're trying to do is leverage everything that you can that is going to help you to be able to get that deal over the line,
Mhm.
right? So, what are some things that you've done in the past that would position you as the expert,
Mhm.
right? So, even if you are not the expert, for example, okay, in my case with multifamily, I've got the team members who are, so I can lean on their expertise. But in my case, what do I bring to the table? Well, my experience as a former stockbroker, my ability to be able to raise capital, my ability to be able to manage shareholders, right?
Yeah.
And the other part is that you need to bring something good to the table as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so this is why what Carlos was saying really matters about that team on the acquisition side as well, because, you know, by having something good, we're able to create a waiting list. And if we do create a waiting list, then we give people that one option to be able to take it. Otherwise, we move on. And they know that it's not fake scarcity, right?
Right.
That if they don't take it, someone else will because we actually show that we've closed on the property,
Right.
right? And the other element is basically like, why are we the most important person, okay, or the party in the deal? Right? So you
Interesting.
need to be able to, communicate that as well. So, we've been able to find an amazing deal, okay? And we had this unfair advantage because we were able to buy it below market value at below market interest rates in an appreciating market. And this is our expertise to be able to unearth this for investors just like yourself.
Right.
And, then I would go on about, my background in operations, but also my vision and my enthusiasm. It's a transfer of energy and
Right.
they need to be able to feel that.
That's a really, really important point because
Yeah,
and you mentioned this earlier. It's they're not investing necessarily just in the deal. They're investing with you, right?
exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
they're
being
betting on the
able,
jockey.
yeah, right. That's
Yeah,
another great way to put it. But you've got to, when you say transfer of energy, you've got to make them believe you. You've got to make them believe that
absolutely.
one, you know what you're doing, and two, you have a plan, right? I know
Yeah,
most,
exactly. So I want
yeah,
to give you examples of some of the things that I've heard that will work against you, right? But the fourth element is that, what makes it different as well. It needs to have a point of difference within the market. So when I'm speaking to investors, and I have been to multifamily events as well, and it just so happens that some of the people in the, that I do meet invest in the co-living space. Why? It's intriguing, it's different, right? So I'll go in there and I'll say, hey, I split a 3-4 bedroom home and I optimized this unused space into additional rooms. This is what it looks like. And we're able to rent these out by the room. And you're like, oh, wow, how does that work? How do people get along, right?
Right.
And so I've immediately created a point of difference with the rest of the crowd, right? Because if everyone's talking about multifamily in that event, they're probably going to be talking about, different size units. And, one point of difference could be that someone's working on a 150 unit, another one's working on a 6 unit. That one's going to be really tough to raise for in that environment,
Mhm.
right? But if you're telling them about something different,
Right.
such as co-living, it is going to create that point of difference. And
That's
yeah,
great.
so I mean, going back to that question earlier about transfer of energy. Now, if you don't have these elements, and there are some people who I see that really do struggle and
Mhm.
they burn through their audience because they are trying to raise capital and they are trying to, create some form of structure. Okay. But what happens is morale goes down, confidence goes down. You see it, you feel it, you see, like you can see the desperation sometimes in their social media posts. And so you can imagine that, hey, look, if this person has been posting for a while, but they haven't actually demonstrated any success, and you have that, and they go into a presentation with a potential investor, they're not
Yeah.
going to share that enthusiasm. They're not going to say, hey, guys, look, we closed on another one about 2 weeks ago, but we've got another one brewing right now. And we're really excited about this property because we've been able to lock in a 3.375% interest rate, which, let's face it, in this market, it's really tough,
Right.
right? So it's just a different way of communicating.
Yeah, that's a good
People
point.
see it and feel it.
Yeah. And I talk about this too. Like when you in your interactions with people, no matter what you do, you're always giving people gut feelings, right? And it
Exactly.
really doesn't matter. You could be the nicest, sweetest, most experienced. It doesn't really matter. The person standing next to you is going to get one gut feeling about you. The other person is going to get another gut feeling about you. So it's really important to be able to, in my opinion, be able to articulate what you're doing and control, not control it, but have the confidence behind what you're speaking about. And then
Exactly.
obviously showing the successes. There's a lot of people who probably don't care about any of that. Show me what you've done, right? I don't care about that. Show me your successes. Show me what you've done. Show me how long is it going to take? How much am I going to make? Right? All of that. And so there's some people that just want those key points, but I would say, would you say probably one of the most important components of keeping an audience is that overall confidence in what you're doing, and then maybe I don't know how you number them, but like your successes and then your confidence in what you're doing. I mean, how would you number
In
those?
order of priority, I would definitely say confidence trumps everything.
Yeah,
Right? Because people are led by confidence. So
yeah,
there are world leaders out there who we can all agree that may not necessarily be the most intelligent people, right? And but they are incredibly confident.
yeah,
So if they do have a policy in mind that they're pushing, they'll speak with high levels of conviction,
yeah,
and it's usually their confidence that has placed them in that position as well.
yeah,
But you need to be able to back that up, obviously, with success as well, right? So this is where the expert team members really do come into play as well, because you do have one shot, right? So if you do sell a terrible product, and you are the product in this case,
yeah.
then you can only sell that one time. You're burned.
That's a
Now,
good.
I mean, there are some great salespeople out there, and they will go for a second run.
Yeah,
I mean, look, for example, I'm going to give some examples that people may actually know, but Elizabeth Holmes, right? I mean, she's basically, sold a terrible product. If people are not familiar with who she is, it's Theranos
yeah,
and blood testing.
yep,
But
yep,
she had a rock star board, right? So she sold the vision incredibly well,
yeah,
right? People like Henry Kissinger as well, which was, phenomenal.
yeah,
But now she's in jail
yeah.
because it was a
Bad
faulty.
execution.
Exactly.
Kind
But
of
I
like
bet,
the
when she
founder
actually does
of
come out
Arts.
because of the experience that she's gained, right? She will be able to create a new product, and I'm pretty sure she will, right? And then there was the founder of WeWork as well. So that collapsed, you know, and it was a major fail. But you know,
Yeah.
now he's back up and he's in real estate and he's making a lot of money right now.
Right. It's not about how you failed. It's not about what you failed at. It's about what you do with it afterwards, right?
Yeah.
How you get back up again.
Yep.
So would you mind, and I know we've kind of touched on some of it, but would you mind maybe talking about a few of the systems and frameworks that you do teach people to raise capital with confidence? What are some of those frameworks that
Yeah.
you
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, it's basically giving people structure, right? So it's having that pitch deck.
do?
And most people are very curious, you know, it's like, hey, what do I actually include in a pitch deck? And, you know, I mean, I've seen some incredibly polished pitch decks, you know,
Mhm.
with an executive summary and, you know, projections and so forth.
Mhm.
And then there are other people who don't have those things. And both are actually fine because I believe that a pitch deck is also an extension of you. But there are also elements that do need to be included in there as well because what you're doing is appealing to, you know, two types of people. One of them is going to be very high level. They
Mhm.
want to know who the jockey is. So it doesn't matter what you actually show them. They're listening to, they're watching you, you know, and that's where the transfer of energy is really going to matter.
Right.
And then there's like, you know, the very detail oriented people. So it doesn't matter how many numbers, Excel spreadsheets, and, you know, that you've copied and pasted into this pitch deck.
Mhm.
They're going to ask for more information afterwards,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so you may need to create a supplementary marketing material or, you know, additional information to show them afterwards. But they
Right.
want to see that you are actually ready with that material. And so that's all part of the structure, right? Because what I tell, you know, anyone that's working together with us is you want to have something that you think into and not, and you don't want to be caught in a position where you're asked a question, you know, so for example, what are your projections over the next 12 months? Look, yeah, I think we should be able to do about 30% growth. Okay. They've already lost confidence,
Yeah.
right? So what you want to do is have those numbers in the pitch deck,
Right.
right?
Right. So
So they'll say, hey, you've
you can just refer them to the pitch deck. So like, you know, that's all answered in the pitch deck.
exactly. And by thinking into it, what I'm referring to is having that additional information in there as well. Because
Yeah.
another question that we get is how long should the pitch deck be? Well, as long as it needs to be to get the outcome.
Yeah.
Right? Because some people store more in their brain, so they're able to present something that may be 1 or 2 pages, right? But in my case, want to make sure that I squash any argument. So if they say, "Well, how do you know
Mm.
this market is actually really good?" Well, let me show you. You know, the increase in the labor force, you know, the decrease in the unemployment rate,
Right.
the major industries in the area.
Right.
And so you want to be able to present them with third party information as well. So they're like, oh, wow, like, you know, this guy's actually thought that through.
Yeah,
You know,
but even with you, you're good at, you know, having that in your head. It's still kind of they work side by side. You still want to have that information as, you know, working with you, right? To bring to the table to pitch what you're doing, right? You want to have
it,
that pitch deck. Because you had mentioned that some people do it without a pitch deck. And
yeah,
in
some people
those
do it without a pitch deck and good for them. I mean, because that's basically, I mean, whatever they use is an extension of themselves, right? So if
yeah,
they don't use anything, but they're still able to get that outcome, it's because, you know, they've got great memories and they're able to store all these numbers, or they know their market incredibly well. So they know that what their market is looking for. So they'll prepare specifically for those things.
right,
I
right.
think it's better though for many people, even if you do know the information like the back of your hand and you can just put out there. People want to see it, read it for themselves, you know, and take it all in, right?
Yeah,
And comprehend.
Exactly. So you
yeah,
may have some visual people, you may have some kinesthetic people, you know. So
yeah,
I mean, people, you know, you've got to cater to different types of people. But before I actually show them anything, you know, you want to make sure that you're qualifying the person as well, because you want to
right.
tailor your pitch deck specifically or tailor your presentation to that person as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, Pansy's got a good point. It's like, you know, not everybody is going to just be okay with you rattling off a bunch of terms there or a bunch of, you know, facts. They're going to want to have something that they can reference, right? They're going to want to have something in their hand physical that they can reference. And so when you talk about that, you want to have it tailored specifically to that person.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly from the standpoint of building out a pitch deck? Like,
Okay, so I'll give you a real life example. I spoke to one gentleman, and he's an older gentleman, is a very savvy business person as well, but he's very high level, right?
mm,
So he didn't really care too much about what he saw, although it was actually beneficial for him to see it.
mm,
And I did go to his house with a tablet, so we were basically able to flick through. But I think the amount of time that he spent on that tablet would have been maybe like 10 seconds or less, right?
interesting. Yeah.
And so he was sold and he loved it. And then he referred me to his lawyer,
Okay.
right?
Right. And the lawyer spent a half hour on the
That's what I was gonna say before
Probably
is
longer.
I'm
probably
very much
longer.
of like I I want to know the person,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I do want to see the numbers, right? I want to see that things look legit and things will pan out.
Mhm.
But I'm more the kind of person like if I don't trust you as a person, you can give me the greatest numbers in the world. I don't necessarily want to do business with you. So I would probably be more like that guy, like, oh, I know you, I trust you. Yeah, the basic stuff looks good. Now it's my team's, kind of decision,
Right.
like I like it, but let's make sure that
Yeah,
everything
let's get right. Let's get some
pans out.
second set of eyes on
You
it,
know.
right? Yeah.
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 And in this case, obviously, the lawyer is going to be someone who is incredibly detail oriented,
Yeah.
Yep.
could not care about the individual involved.
Right.
Yep.
And so, by having that relationship with the person before having to pass anything over to the lawyer, I was able to have that conversation, and we both, we were both aligned on what to expect from the lawyer as well. And I was able to overcome any of those objections, but at the same time, I basically just showed him and covered all those different areas as well. What does make me an expert? Who am I actually aligned with?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
big
and he was very intrigued by this class as well because, single family homes had worked incredibly well for him. And as part of like, making myself, someone that's important in his life as well. I mean, he basically invited me to go fishing with him on his boat.
oh
Right.
wow, nice.
So it's, being in that position where you're able to create that type of relationship because I'm not just positioning myself as someone that, you have that single transaction with, right?
Yeah,
I want people to
exactly.
delegate the responsibility of that additional income stream.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. You want to build that long-lasting relationship. You don't want to just one and done, right?
Exactly. So all of your actions and your words really need to be aligned with that.
Yeah. That's a big one too, because look, you want to borrow from the guy again, right? You want to do more
Exactly.
business with that person, right? It's not just about this, it's not about doing one deal together, it's about doing 100 deals together or more, right? So
Exactly. So it was more, the things that I did after the invest. In fact, look, I mean, it's very interesting because, as someone who is seeking funds, and this is a very interesting point. I was actually offering him a certain interest rate, and he was incredibly excited about that. Well, sorry, he wasn't actually that excited about the interest rate,
mm,
right? Um, he was more excited about the individual, me.
interesting.
And so after we did get into agreement, he actually reduced the interest rate that he wanted.
Oh
Right?
wow.
He
No
wanted a lower
kidding.
return. And that's because,
Wow.
hey, look, I just want this to be a big, I just want, sorry, my dog is actually getting excited about the
Oh,
topic
you're
as well.
good. Yeah. You're good.
So yeah, he actually lowered the interest rate and he offered a better,
Wow.
I mean, he basically said, I'm happy to take less. I just want this to be a success and let's do more business together.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely a relationship person,
So
Yes, making money excites me, but I really want the relationship to be there. I
Yeah.
want to make money with my friends, with people who have the same values, right?
yeah.
So I like that when you speak of people that are more about the relationship than just the money.
And
So,
one thing that I learned from Chad And the reason why I'm quiet is because I'm a student in this as
Mhm.
well. So I'm learning, every single day from Chad on how to raise
We're
money.
all students,
We're all
Carlos.
students of the game.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned from Chad about raising capital and maintaining the relationships with your investors is treat your investors like your life absolutely depends on it. So it's the first thing that he talks about every single day. And that's why these relationships are extremely important if you plan to continue building on it and continue raising more funds from these people.
Right. But they really do become like family
Yeah.
after you are around them enough, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Yeah.
and show them that you have the true intentions and you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and you're going to you know you are your word, right? You are uh the honor that you present is what people expect, right? And if you want to keep those relationships, you gotta live up to that, and
Absolutely.
show them, right? But um so
Look, I just want to add on that as well because it is very important. There was an essay from a little while back, maybe like 17, 20 years ago now, Kevin Kelly, Thousand True Fans, right?
mm,
You don't necessarily need too many people
mm,
to become your investor. And if you do nurture your investors and you really do look after them, the amount that they will invest and how they spread the word as well is going to expand over time,
mm,
right? And so I'm most excited about where the relationship is going to be 5, 7 years from now, because that's when you're going to truly make life-changing amounts of money, because then they'll say, okay, look, I've got $500,000 or $1 million in equity thanks to this portfolio that we've been able to scale together, which is fantastic.
right,
And then you've got 10 of those people. That's 10 million bucks. That's a $40 million asset that you can purchase,
right.
right?
Yep.
so
And
are you doing just PML or are you doing partnerships with your
Both.
lenders? Both? Yeah.
Yeah, both. And, you know, in the beginning of anyone's journey, I understand that people really do need to look out for themselves. So it's how do I actually feed myself first before I feed others? So you're thinking about different ways to offer the least, right? It's like, hey, I was able to get away with offering my private mental into like, 6% or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know about the
Yeah.
least,
Yeah.
but that's just my mindset. Like, I really do want it to be kind of fair for everyone, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's the fun in it if only I'm making money, or if just they're making money, then it kind of takes the fun away. But I know bringing people together and we're all making money, I think that's more exciting and
mm,
keeps people coming back,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, I mean, if they feel the win, if they feel like, hey, this person has really looked after me, and they've seen alternative investments as well, and they can look back at their bank account and just reflect and say, hey, wait, wow, like this person really did go above and beyond, offer me something incredible. Then that's going to go a long way, and that's going to create that effect, the network effect that I'm really looking for as well, right? Because when you obviously make the money, you want to be able to enjoy it with people that you enjoy spending time with as well. And even back in my stockbroking days as well, a lot of my clients became friends, and we were able to enjoy different things together. You
yeah.
know?
Yeah,
And
I like
there's
that
a
aspect
Yeah.
point
for
too.
sure.
I was just going to add something, especially when you're first getting started with anything, and especially in the real estate world, you got to lead with value, right? You got to lead with as much value as you can. And even in, in business, you're selling a service, you're selling a widget or whatever. You need to offer those things for almost free at first, right? Or you got to offer them and something extra, right? To build that interest. But you always got to lead with more value than what you're expecting, right? Than what you're
Look,
expecting.
exactly. And, to just add to that, because sometimes, if people are starting out for the very first time, they're thinking, okay, what do I actually lead with? Right.
Mhm.
And this is all part of, the program that we actually offer as well, because when you ask people, how many people can you speak to? It's usually like, just a handful of people because they're the only people that come into their mind.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
But the value that you can actually lead with, okay, is entertainment. People actually pay large amounts of money to be entertained, right? So you need to create intrigue. You need to be a person who actually just wants to spread happiness as well and just have a conversation with someone.
Mhm.
Everyone wants their pattern to be interrupted because everyone's doing the same thing. They've got their routine. But think about, when you're walking down the street and you're interrupted, but in a very positive way, something that actually makes you smile, right?
Mhm.
You appreciate that moment.
Mhm.
And so, what we basically encourage as part of, the program that we actually offer is to be able to do that at least a few times a day, okay? Because ultimately what you want to do is position yourself to be able to have two meaningful conversations each day.
Right.
Now, a meaningful conversation needs to be able to hit on some notes, okay, in order for it to be classified as meaningful. There needs to be an exchange, right?
Mhm.
It can't be a one-sided communication where you're just pitching something,
Yeah.
okay? But you don't necessarily even need to pitch straight away. It's just asking someone, "Hey, so what do you do?" and listening to them, asking some questions, being interested. And then perhaps the second and third conversation could be, "Well, I'm doing real estate.
Yeah.
And these are the exciting things that I'm actually doing." And so if you're able to, have two of these conversations each day, of course, after 30 days, it's 60 people, but how many people do you really need to speak to, or how many days need to pass before you actually get a yes from a person, especially if you're following a structured presentation
I bet you
with
it doesn't take as long as people think,
no.
right?
In fact, we've got some people, for example, Tim, we spoke to him and he was able to get the money within 2 weeks.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
So, I
So
mean, just to, give a bit of a background as well. I mean, he's W2's got a job and like, he's, but on the side, he works on cars and, sells them as well. But like, that's basically the extent of, his, uh, entrepreneurship.
yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So, my niece has got this, what you're describing, this sort of, you know, interrupting somebody in a joyful or positive way, interrupting their status quo during
Hmm.
the day, right? She's got this down to a science. I mean, I'll be walking around with her, we'll be at the mall or we'll be someplace, and she'll just stop people and be like, "Oh my God, I love your dress," right? And that simple, like you can see people, you can see it lit up their day, right? And it's just a simple compliment. And she's built more relationships. So, I mean, Pansy, she came with us to a networking meetup.
Yeah, I think she
I
got
mean,
more information from people than I did, but
yeah, but it was all from, she led from that place though. She was like showering people, just starting up conversations, asking questions, but starting with, interrupting them in a really positive way. And it caught people. I think a lot of times it catches people off guard, but in a good way, right? And because it's not, you don't get that all the time, right? You're going through your day, and that's kind of what you expect, right? And then to have someone that's intentionally, interrupting that in a positive light or in a positive manner, goes a lot farther than I think people even know. I told my niece that too. I'm like, what you're doing, I know it's kind of just her routine now. And I let her know, I'm like, I don't think you realize the impact you're having on people. I mean, you could have just completely changed that person's whole day. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It,
Absolutely.
just
I mean,
they could have
people want
met.
to be heard. I
Yeah,
know. I mean, I go in with that
yeah,
core belief. People want
yeah,
to be heard. They want to be intrigued.
yeah,
I also know as a core belief that people want money to work for them as opposed to them working for the money.
yeah,
So I go in believing that, people actually want this,
yeah, yeah,
right? Yeah.
100%. Well, I love that example. So let's talk a little bit about the about getting into the mentorship. So someone like myself, someone who's brand new and
Yeah.
wants to get into the mentorship, how do we do that? How do we get in touch with you guys
Yeah.
in mentorship?
Look, just very quickly, I mean, as part of, the mentorship as well, like the whole idea is for you to get into your property,
Yeah.
right? And, just by getting into your property, you can make, 5 to 10x, whatever the investment actually is. The whole idea is that we keep the barrier low, but
Mhm.
we want people to pay to pay attention, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so we believe that, within 90 days, you should be able to get that investment. But it's also being in a position where you get, the cold hard truth as well. Because if
Yeah.
you don't have the expertise or you don't have the team behind you, you need to put those things in place.
Yeah.
Being a steward of other people's money comes with great responsibility, right?
100%.
And we don't want that to be uh, abused in any way whatsoever. But the bigger vision behind what we're actually doing is, look, if you're in a position where you're able to get a property every quarter,
Mhm.
right? And if you've got the right team, they're handling the operations, or perhaps you're going to be very deep involved in the operations as well. And you may say that you've hit your capacity, but you may not necessarily have hit your capacity with raising money, because if you're doing work, now you're demonstrating success, you're building out your investor base, and perhaps you're able to raise about another $1 million. Great. Why don't you join our team, right? Because now you're you are a capital raiser. You've got the qualities, the ability to be able to take on the co-GP responsibilities, okay, and become part of like something much bigger,
Yeah.
you know, like a bigger asset. And for example, if you're able to raise 1 million, but then there's, three others that are able to raise 1 million, that's $4 million. And so you can get, a 15, $16 million asset with that. And ultimately, that's basically the type of relationship that we're actually looking for, someone over the longer term. And so anyone that's actually in the program as well, like as we basically reach up to these newer heights and learn to, raise money from private equity companies and family offices, and we start interviewing some of these people out, who are already going out there, there's going to be a vault and all that information that basically people have access to, right? So it's just a one time, but you've got, one time investment, but you've got access to all that additional information as well.
Yeah.
That's
Which,
So
amazing. Yeah. What
yeah.
for
yeah,
one-time investment.
Yeah.
yeah. And so that one time investment is $1,000. Okay.
Which is,
So
guys, like, let me just
That's
stop you right.
pennies,
That's
right?
yeah,
let me just stop you right there really fast.
yeah.
Programs like this, like what he said, what does Vina Jetty charge for her program? Do you
Oh,
remember?
yeah, she was starting it at like 10,000. That
Okay.
was like years ago. So I
It's
can
more expensive
only
now. It's more
imagine where
expensive now.
she's at now.
Yeah, it's
So
way more expensive now. And let me tell you guys, for $1,000 to be able to get into something like this, and you do got to give a commitment. There's got to be a commitment there. There's got to be the willingness, obviously, to learn, but to be dedicated and committed, and all of those things. So, but to be able to get it for $1,000 is just absolutely crazy. So, for those of you who are watching this, I hope you guys do take advantage of it, because that's just invaluable.
Yeah.
What they're
And,
offering.
and look, the $1,000 is basically a filter,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because I'll give you two different examples of,
Yeah.
the types of people, right? There are those who actually know the direction that they're actually going in, and they know that there are gaps within, like, their vision of where they actually want to be, and they want those gaps filled as quickly as possible so they can get to that outcome as quickly as possible,
Right.
right? And so what we're basically saying is, look, if we're involved in some other part of the process and there is a cost associated with that, that $1,000 is actually credited towards it,
Amazing. Yeah.
right? Because we do offer, these homes for them to be able to invest into as
Mm.
well, so they can credit it towards that, right?
interesting.
But then there's other people who maybe have dabbled and tried to raise money. Okay. And this is what I mean by a transfer of energy. If you're not in a position where you can raise $1 million, I mean, sorry, $1,000, even if you are broke, okay, then that energy is actually just going to continue. And it's actually going to get worse over time. I've spoken to an individual, who's been trying to raise money for about 3 years for their idea, right?
Yeah.
And you can imagine what's happening to their morale every time they're actually getting rejected, even after 3 years has actually gone by.
Yeah.
So the energy that they're going to transfer to anyone that they're actually going to be speaking to is not going to be good.
Yeah. I know a
Yeah.
guy exactly like that. They've been trying to raise capital for, and the project on its face and all the numbers look right, but it's the way I know it. It's the way they're pitching it. It's the people that they're talking to, the way they're interacting with the people. But he's been trying to raise capital for this project for the last almost 4 years now. And part of the problem is timing. right? Because it's one of these passion projects, and banks in general are just not like, forget it, no passion projects. But the numbers are real, and their projections look good. But I know the individual who's trying to raise capital for it, is struggling in building those relationships, right? Because
Yeah.
then there's every reason, like he's got a job, he's got to do this during the day and whatever. But I think if someone like that could learn the skills that you guys are teaching,
Or have
Absolutely.
even with
someone with those skills on the
even
team.
him, right? Exactly. Yeah. Even
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
guy could get to where he wants to be in a shorter period of time, because yeah, I mean, these are key skills, people. So
Yeah, so
um
in his case, I mean, it comes down to also delaying the gratification, but demonstrating to his audience why he is investment worthy,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
who is his character? Because if he's speaking to people who have no idea, the instant response is going to be no,
right,
right?
right,
What is his capability? What can he show to demonstrate his capability?
right,
And I mean, what is he putting on the line?
yeah,
Right? Because people want to know, okay, like if they're betting the everything, okay,
yeah,
and their entire future and reputation is on the line, you're more likely to say, hey, wait a minute, like this guy's going all in. And like, for example, Elon Musk, when he was venturing into politics, people noticed that, hey, this guy goes all in.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
how you do one thing is how you do everything, and people want to see and feel that,
yeah. That's a really
right?
good point. That's a really good point. And it's
Yeah.
intoxicating, and people, yeah, people do see that, right? Um, I just want really quick, for the show, for those of you who are on here right now, and if you have questions, for Chad or Carlos, do definitely raise your hand, and we'll call you up here, and how you can
Yeah,
ask a
because I
question.
think we have to wrap it up shortly. I think Chad said he
Yeah.
had somewhere to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a few minutes left, so if you guys want to ask a question, raise your
Yeah.
hand. If you don't know how to raise your hand, there's a reaction button right at the bottom of the screen. If you're on your mobile phone, you got to tap the screen, and there's three little dots, and you click those, and you'll see reactions. Raise your hand, and I'll call you up here. But
Yeah. And
so
while we're waiting for the hands to actually be raised as well,
yeah,
I mean, for five people, basically, if they comment or reach out and with the words "raise money," basically we will give 15-minute a tailored like uh,
Consultation.
yeah,
yeah,
basically like a tailored just I guess like a training for you, so you have clear guidance on your very next step,
yeah,
right? And for the five people who do come on board as well, what we'll basically do is if you are presenting and it's recorded, we'll basically give live feedback on that.
it's amazing.
You know,
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Can I ask a question? Would
yeah,
could people DM you guys if people are watching this after the fact? Can people DM
absolutely,
you guys? Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll put. Don't worry, guys. We'll put all the information in the description for those who are watching this after the fact. But yeah, Chad, Carlos, I really appreciate you guys jumping on here. This has been really, really cool. And again, I don't think, for those who are watching, like, you don't come across this level of education for the price that they're offering, and uh for the kind of skills you're going to come away with. I mean, it really does. It changes the
It
whole
sounds like Justin's
game.
ready to sign us up. Let's go.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. But it changes the whole game, because, again, people are told, when they get into this business, you got to go learn to wholesale. You got to go learn to wholesale. And not everybody fits in the wholesale. Not everybody fits in the acquisitions part of it. And this is just one of those other areas that you could really shine in. And then, people talk about get today money, get today money. It's like, well, if I know how to raise capital, I can be part of a team, and I can get in and learn that skill. Uh, it's just another amazing avenue you can venture down and change your whole trajectory.
I
So
think anyone in the business should know
yeah,
something about capital raising,
yeah,
because I believe you, as an entrepreneur, you're doing it on a regular basis, whether you're actually pitching a deal or not, right? Because you're putting yourself out there, you're having conversations with people, and people are going to make judgments on whether or not they like you
Mhm.
during those conversations, and do they want to possibly down the line do any type of business with you, right? I
Mhm.
mean, that's what most of this, the podcast, having the different Facebook groups that you're in, the different meetups in person, all of it, right? Ultimately is to build those relationships for future business together.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, really quick, guys, before we end, before we leave, how can people get in touch with you guys if they want to reach out to you guys?
Best way is Instagram. So I've got my dog making an appearance as well.
That's okay. We have it all the
Drop
time.
it into the
My
chat.
cat used to make an appearance quite often too.
Yeah, so I mean, we are active on like mostly Instagram and Facebook. So at Chad Yesilova.
At Chad Yesilova, okay.
Yeah,
And we'll
and with
include
Carlos,
it
it's
in
at
everything.
the Carlos Villanueva.
Yeah,
The Carlos Villanueva. All
And
right.
if you guys have a hard time finding either one of them, just reach out to myself or Justin, and we will more than gladly point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and go watch this is going to be up on YouTube, so the information will be in the description also, so you can find it there. Yeah, Chad, Carlos, thank you guys so much for being back on. This was amazing, and I know this thing is gonna blow up. So really appreciate you being on the show, and we need to have you back on to share
Absolutely.
some of your
So
upcoming
Yeah, once
successes
you've
with
had some people go through it, that would be
yeah,
awesome
Yeah,
to
yeah,
absolutely. Let's
people
make it
come
happen.
back. Yeah, awesome.
All right, guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Appreciate everyone for showing up.
yeah. Guys, I'm Justin. This is Pansy. Thank you again for joining us. It's Friends with Benefits podcast. We will be back again next Friday. Same bat channel, same bat. Do join us, and yeah, we'll see you again. Thanks, guys.
Ciao.